the meeting order of June 27th, 2023, 6 p.m. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Will the clerk please take the roll?
Councilmember Johnstone. Councilmember Richardson. Councilmember Crossman.
Here.
Councilmember Smith. Here. Councilmember Hess. Councilmember Brooks. Here. Councilmember Kaminsky. Here. Mayor DePinto.
Here. All right, can we get an agenda approval? Councilmember Hess.
I move that we approve the agenda as submitted.
Second by Councilmember Kaminsky. Is there any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed say nay. Motion carries. Moving on to special presentations. There's none scheduled. Moving on to public comment. Right now, we just have 2 cards and maybe someone online. Rachel Haskins, please step up to the podium. These are 3 minutes. It is time and now, so please.
Okay, good evening. My name is Rachel Haskins. I started the process of reviewing the City of Yelm's business practices when I first learned the city was permitting adult entertainment in the Yelm Community Center as lawful. I've since uncovered a slew of violations of state laws and municipal codes by the City of Yelm. Reminder, Jesus said, quote, "For nothing is secret that will not be revealed, nor anything hidden that will not be known and come to light." Luke 8:17. Number 1, Councilperson Brooks worked at the Thurston County Democrats Demo Burger on June 10th. Are you aware, Councilperson Brooks, that their business license wasn't issued until after the event on June 21st? Per Yelm Municipal Code 5.02.020, they illegally transacted business. This is not an exempt organization. It is not recognized federally by the IRS as a nonprofit. The violation penalty is deemed guilty of a misdemeanor. Number 2, the workers' rights, according to Washington state labor laws, were broken. I have proof on video by documentation through emails and in person that they were all warned, that you are all warned. These laws were at risk of being broken prior to the event. Washington Nonprofit Handbook, page 13, number 3, which I have here, it says, quote, "A for-profit is not allowed to have volunteers in accordance with Washington state labor laws," end quote. You knowingly broke the laws by allowing a business owner leasing the City of Yelm property to misuse volunteers in a for-profit business. The City of Yelm didn't protect workers' rights that are required for other businesses to follow in this city. On June 8th, 2023, we had an impromptu meeting here with Mr. Mayor DePinto and Mr. Todd Stansel and Dan and Bonnie Schwartz. They're not here tonight. We met in this room and I asked Mayor DePinto, let me call Ellen and I to discuss the workers' rights violations that were first discussed in the City Council meeting by Mr. Reno on 5/23/23. Mayor DePinto said to me, no. And he threatened to leave the meeting if I did call them. Why? On June 10th, there were around 50 vendors, not 100, not 80. There were around 50, and that's all on video, by the way. 3 businesses out of the 50 vendors were legally able to transact business in Yelm that day. 3 out of 50. There were 3 of them that were actually nonprofits and all legally okay to transact business in the City of Yelm because they were part of the IRS. They're already exempt from that. Mayor DePinto wrote a legal memorandum through the city attorney on June 6, 2023, quote, "The City of Yelm has taken all the appropriate measures to ensure that the event and promoter have followed all the current guidelines established by the City Council, Yelm Municipal Code, and the revised Code of Washington. I have clear violations that is not actually true."
Could you please wrap up?
Number 6. Chief Carlson said there were 57 police officers hired for the June 10th event. We Christians and the protesters, which there were 5 Proud Boys apparently. I don't know Proud Boys. So anyway, we were all quarantined in the area. We couldn't move from that area. And actually multiple people were sent and told if you don't go back to that area, you could potentially be removed. So anyway.
Your comments, Rachel. Harry Miller.
Thank you. Awesome parade. Yes, great coordination between the chamber, the city, school, and this is obviously a town that is a town of car shows. There's one going on by Burger King right now. It's like, hey, I wish I had something pretty to take there. So anyway, really happy, good turnout, progress. My second thing is I still want to keep forefront 98597, a seat at the table to help the city, because we pay for schools, we shop here, we do all of this stuff, we want a voice. And borrowing a question from Councilman Hess, return on investment, Pride and Drag Queen event. The promoter is stating the reservations already made for 2024. What is the city's cost to hold this likely attended event? And what was the cost of goodwill either lost or gained in the community in 98597? And I know after the last Tuesday meeting, there was a Thursday meeting scheduled by the mayor to go over costs, et cetera. Did anybody attend that? Is there anything from that? You weren't invited. That was, I did think I saw like a little memo that said in August, there would be a review of this. So we don't have anything forthcoming on the actual cost of return on investment then for all of the police presence and all of that, because I know it's substantial. People say anywhere from 60 to 100,000. So looking forward to hearing what that cost, because it was not for free. And back to Councilman Hess, and I'll make this as quick as possible. What is your opinion of the elections held in 2020? Were they fair and legally conducted? And how does your view make you a better Yelm councilman? 62% of the Americans polled by Rasmussen questioned the integrity of the outcome of the 2020 election. Your question revealed more about your position than that of the council applicants. It was surreal, and the bias was a pressure to comply with your opinion. I feel this question was not a good reflection on the council. It felt more like bullying. And that is my humble opinion. And you had some good questions there, you know, but that one in particular really hung right there because it forced people to somehow adjust whatever they were going to say to somehow comply with what they were trying to interpret what you were doing. And that kind of stuck right here. Other than that, thank you. Appreciate the council. Cody, always.
Moving on to the consent agenda. Is there anyone online that wishes to address the council?
There are no hands raised.
All right, moving on to the consent agenda. Councilmember Kaminsky.
Move to approve the consent agenda.
Is there a second? Okay, second by Councilmember Johnstone. And again, this is for the May 23rd, 23, June 6th, 2023, and June 13th, 2023 meeting minutes. Is there any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed say nay. Motion carries. Moving on to new business. Under A, we have interlocal agreement between the cities of Olympia, Lacey, and Yelm. Authorize the city of Yelm to enter an interlocal agreement to implement a Deschutes water rights mitigation strategy, phase 6. Cody.
Hello, council. So if you remember last week when we approved actually 2 weeks ago, sorry, we approved the interlocal agreement for the Squaxin tribe, Olympia and Lacey. I said we'd be coming with another one for maintenance of that property. This one you'll notice is between Olympia, Lacey, and Yelm because we're the joint owners of the Smith Farm, now Deschutes property. So this is to maintain the property, continue to mow it, hay it, add trees, start to restore it back to its natural habitat. This is phase 6, so it's been maintained for approximately 12 years now, and this will continue that maintenance moving forward. We already budgeted for this. This is something we have to do in order to keep our water rights in cross. We have to show that we're trying to rehabilitate the area. And I'd be happy to answer any questions if you had any, or if you want to go on the tour.
What are the costs?
It's roughly about 100,000-ish a year split between the 3 cities. It depends year to year. We haven't got a bid for this year, but this allows us to go to bid for the maintenance of it.
We have been keeping money, been saving money.
It comes out of our water fund or capital fund so development coming into town that pays system development charges. This money, that part of that money goes towards this to mitigate the water because they're getting the benefit of those water rights.
Councilman Rest.
Director Colt answered the question just now. I was curious on, was this from our general fund or was it from the water fund?
Yeah, water capital.
Councilmember Crossman.
You said hay? Are we going to sell hay?
Yeah, so actually and the funny thing is it's an old farm, so there's still fields of hay. The local farmer next to us mows it for hay, bales it for free and uses that hay for himself. The hay cannot be used outside because there's some rule, I don't know about the hay rule, but you can't take the hay out of the area because of some weed. What's the weed? There's some weed that's grows there, tansy or something.
Yeah.
And you can't take the hay away from the property, but he can use it who lives next door. So he bales it for us and does it for free, but he gets to keep the hay. Yeah.
Any questions? Councilor Hess?
I'd like to move that we approve the interlocal agreement between the cities of Olympia, Lacey, and Yelm, authorizing the city of Yelm to enter into an interlocal agreement for implementing Deschutes water right mitigation strategy phase 6.
Councilmember Glassman gets second. That's by here. Any further discussion? All right, we'll just do a roll, or excuse me, we'll just do a verbal. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed say nay. Motion carries. Thank you, Cody. Council, moving on to item B, ordinance number 1098, adopting City of Yelm Housing Action Plan. And this is Gary. Good evening. I'm back. So, council, we had a workshop on this about 3 weeks ago, I believe. I don't remember the exact date, the Housing Action Plan. Planning Commission has had one workshop and also had a hearing last week. And they have recommended adoption of the Housing Action Plan. I don't have a big presentation because we have had the workshop. Just some little bit of background. In 2021, the Department of Commerce amended the Growth Management Act that strengthened the language for strategizing to provide affordable housing. And so as a result of that, they also, they offered the stick. And then they offered the carrot, which was grants to do these housing action plans. So we applied for and received $75,000. And this plan has been done completely within that budget. And I mean, with that, I have really nothing else to say right now. Yes. Councilor Smith.
I just want to make sure, especially that I understand and the people listening understand, this is something that we have to do. We have to have a plan, correct?
We have to develop a strategy.
A strategy.
Now,
Okay.
the housing action plan is one way to do that,
Okay.
but this way was a way that was funded by the state as opposed to us funding it ourselves.
Okay.
Yes.
And what was the deadline for this? Was there?
June 30th was the contract deadline.
Okay. And is there a fine?
No, there's not a fine. There's not a fine. We did amend our contract, so the June 30th deadline now is to have a final draft, which we do consider this a final draft. If there were any glitches tonight for the adoption, we have until mid-September to actually adopt it.
Thank you.
Councilor Hess.
One, I want to say thank you for removing the one chapter that was controversial from it, dealing with the 600 feet and such. Appreciate that. As you stated, this is just one way of helping with the housing action, with housing within Yelm itself, correct?
Yes.
Okay. I think that it's also important that we understand that it's just one of many different ways, and it's something that we as a council and the community need to, in particular our developers, we need to try to figure out other ways to help out. We can't just be short-sighted. We need to start looking 10, 20 years out. And this, I think, is a good plan on doing that.
Yeah.
And I appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you. I want to point out also, I mean, we've got lots of strategies in here. They're really diverse, from working with nonprofits who specialize in this kind of work, to looking at our permit processes, to looking at our zoning, to encourage, strategies to allow more density and to get more affordable housing, because this is really about trying to provide affordable housing, which is in very short supply. But none of these strategies is mandatory. So it's up to us which ones we implement and in what order we do them. One thing that is good is if we do adopt this, there's kind of a phase 2. So that we got a grant for a housing action plan. Upon adoption, then we become eligible for implementation grants. So some of these things we could get grants to implement. One that I think is really appealing would be a grant. I've seen this done in a couple other cities, a grant to look at our current permitting processes to make sure that they really are clear and make them as simplified as possible so that they're user friendly. And the reason I like that one is because it not only can facilitate housing, it actually benefits everyone in the community. So I know City of Olympia, I think they got $100,000 to do that. And I think we have pretty good code, but I also know that every code can be improved. So, you know, just making it easier to understand what application requirements are, for example, and what next steps are going to be. All those things, if you speed up the permitting process, reduce the cost of the development.
Other questions from the council? Councilmember Kaminsky.
I move to approve ordinance 1098, adopting the City of Yelm Housing Action Plan.
Second by Councilmember Hess. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say nay. Motion carries.
Thank you all very much.
Thank you, Gary. Moving on to item C, ordinance number 1099, property purchase budget amendment. This will be to approve this budget amendment to purchase property located at 15425 State Route 507, Yelm, Washington, for the amount of $225,000. Stephanie.
Thank you, Mayor and council members. So on June 13th, the City Council approved a motion to purchase property located at 15425 State Route 507 Yelm for the amount of $225,000. So in order to purchase the property, we need to do an expenditure budget amendment for the general fund in that same amount. So this is just a budget amendment for that specific purpose. It's adding $225,000 to the general fund budget. And then when we are ready to finalize that transaction, we'll have those funds ready to go. So any questions on that?
Councilmember Hess.
From the public service meeting, it was brought up that there's the sliver that's on the other side of 507 that they're trying to figure out the title. That's not going to cause any additional costs or anything with that purchase. Is that correct?
Let Todd take that.
No, it shouldn't. They're tracking it back to 1946, when it was owned by a underground utility irrigation district. And so they're just trying to make sure that that sliver is included in the title to the main piece. I believe it's 0.3 acres on the other side of that road. So we're just working through the details to make sure that piece is included before the sale takes place, before the transaction takes place.
It sounds like it's going to move forward just fine. It sounds like a little paperwork from our attorney and the title company, but we should be just fine on it. If for some reason that parcel is not included, we would absolutely take it back to council and make sure that it's okay with you guys. Councilmember Hess.
I'd like to make a motion to approve ordinance 1099, a budget amendment to purchase property located at 15425 State Route 507 Yelm, Washington, for the amount of $225,000.
Second by Councilmember Smith. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say nay. No. Motion carries. All right.
Let's come in.
All righty, moving on to item D, ordinance number 1100, amending Yelm Municipal Code 5.32 fireworks. There's two possible options that we've teed up for the city council. I believe Todd's going to be speaking to this.
Yep.
What?
Thank you, Mayor, Council. So the Yelm City Council met and discussed two options to consider regarding the purchase and discharge. In addition, emergency banning of fireworks during two open public meetings on May 2nd and June 6th. Two options were considered: modifying the current Yelm Municipal Code 5.32. They've been attached for your consideration of approval. Option A is a full adoption of RCW 7.70.77 with the addition of the emergency ban under extreme fire conditions. Option B is adoption of 70.77 with the modification of the times to purchase and discharge fireworks, as well as the addition of the code to ban fireworks during extreme fire conditions. Any deviation approved tonight from the RCW would not take effect till 2021.
Councilor Crossman.
You said, and the addition of the emergency ban and the extreme fire conditions, that's not part of the RCW?
No.
RCW has anything, had this.
Currently, there's about 11 counties in the state that have emergency bans under their specific codes, but there is not one in the RCW.
Councilor Richardson.
And we had conversations with the local fire marshals and did we talk to them about what they would recommend?
Some of the language that changed after the last recommendation is consultation with local, county and regional fire marshals before the decision would be made to ban fireworks. Before it was just local fire marshals. So we included the county and regional expertise before that decision would be made by the mayor.
Councilor Hess.
Option B, that's getting us somewhat in line with the county, is that correct? Out of that would put us with the county, Lacey, Olympia, Tumwater, Lakota, Rainier, and Tenino. How do they all, what are theirs like? Are they as unrestricted as ours, or they have slight restrictions as well?
Lacey, Olympia, and Tumwater ban fireworks.
Okay. And what about Tenino, Rainier, and
I don't believe they have. I think they're I better look it up, but I think they're in line with RCW. Either way, we have to at least amend it to what the RCW is.
and I understand that.
Because we're just a little out of compliance on that. I am looking up just real quick from Tenino's. I'm pretty sure Rainier also is very similar. They allow fireworks all the time, as much as RCW does. Is there any other questions? As I'm looking this up. Councilmember Smith, then Richardson.
I was going to move to approve ordinance number, it's 1100. Amending Yelm Municipal Code 5.32 fireworks, the first option, A, I believe it's.
Second by Councilmember Kaminsky. Is there any further comments? Councilmember Hess.
We've had the 2 meetings that have occurred with this, and one of the things that I would like the council to consider is, I mean, I've heard the statements of we're very patriotic, so we want to celebrate the 4th of July from June 28th all the way to July 5th. And yet, if you go to JBLM, it's one day. And if you're going to tell me that JBLM is not patriotic, I find that kind of odd. Lacey, Olympia, Tumwater, I'm not saying we need to restrict. We don't need to do that. I'm just looking for us to limit the discharge of the fireworks to the 29th, to the 3rd and 4th. I mean, in my neighborhood, they're already launching mortars. I've heard the excuse of, hey, I bought the firework, I want to test it. Well, I'm sorry, all you have to do is know that there's a light, there's a fuse to it, and it launches. I think we need to make a slight change. I mean, it's not saying that we are not patriotic. It's not saying that we're being super restrictive. We're just putting it to the time frame of when the celebration truly is. And if the argument of it's going to put a stress on the police department, we didn't even ask what stress was on the fire department for having it so long. Because I believe those 2 will balance it out. And in addition, it's an education process to discuss it where we can just purchase little signs that say, hey, please remember, you cannot discharge fireworks until these dates. And we work with education. Not trying to ban fireworks. I'm just trying to say, can we limit it from a week to just 2 days? That's all I'm asking.
Any more discussion? Councilmember, oh my gosh, Councilmember Johnstone, I'm sorry.
Am I correct in remembering that 47% voted no to ban them altogether?
I believe it's 46%.
Thank you.
Any further discussion? Councilor Richardson.
Well, I was kind of hoping we could do option A without the addition of the emergency ban under extreme fire conditions, but that's probably not an option.
Not as currently motion, no.
Yeah.
I was stuck on the fence.
Is there anything else, Councilor Richardson? All right, any other comments? We'll do a roll call vote then. Just start down as yea or nay. Again, this is to approve ordinance number 1100, amending chapter 5.32 of the Yelm Municipal Code with the full adoption of RCW 70.77 in addition to the emergency ban under extreme fire conditions. Councilmember Kaminsky, how do you vote?
Yes,
Councilmember Brooks,
No.
Councilmember Hess,
No.
Councilmember Smith,
Yes.
Councilmember Crossman,
Yes.
Councilmember Richardson,
Yes.
Councilmember Johnstone.
No.
So it passes 4-3. All right, so we will go ahead and update the codes. And again, this doesn't come into effect until next year. Basically, it stays the same, maintains it with the addition of the emergency ban under extreme fire conditions. All righty, thank you, Council. Moving on to item C, old business, it's unscheduled. Moving on to number 8, standing council committee reports, public safety committee. No. Public services committee.
We had a good meeting today. Lots of information being put out. One of the things that was brought up is that there's a grant from the T-Mobile Hometown grant. It's for $50,000 and up. They are looking at utilizing it to have put into the city park a wheelchair accessible swing. This, I think, is a great idea to pursue. It's what a lot of communities out there are starting to do, and there's stories that are starting to come to light of how there are handicapped individuals that don't have access to a lot of the stuff, and so they can't. The enjoyment that regular people would have, they don't really get to have. So I think that's a wonderful thing. Also, the timeframe they're looking at doing is when the stage is being built. So if we can get the grant approved and have it all done while the stage is being built, they're going to bring in the swing at the same time. The location of it is going to be between the current playground equipment and the Veterans Memorial. That's the area that they're looking at putting it. The cost is approximately $70,000, and that's for the equipment and installation. Let's see, there's also, there was a communication board that was given to public service to put into the park. Is to have people who cannot speak, they're able to point to things of, I want to play and where they want to play. So it will help out with communicating with someone who may not either speak English or may not even be able to speak at all. So that's really nice to have about that. The stage, it's a little bit higher cost, but it includes bringing all the electrical to the stage itself, removing the pavilion and the concrete in the center, replacing that with grass. It's also putting in a spider box so that we can light up the park and have things like that. So it's the additional cost, it's going to be working itself out on that, in reference to that. Then we also had a briefing about upcoming city sponsor events. One of the briefings was about Prairie Days. Said that the street dance was great, the parade and the activity at the park was great, and then the mush ball at Longmire Park on Sunday was also a great thing. Some of the feedback, one of the big things was more food options, which I think next year, once we get our one-way cutlets put together with the food trucks, we can line up 2 streets full of food trucks, so that'll be kind of nice. And then there's also a concern with our local businesses of trying to staff both Prairie Days and their storefront. It doesn't work very well, and the smarter money is to make sure your storefront stays open. So there's, in case people are bringing that up, why weren't a lot of local businesses there? It's kind of the reason why. The dog park, tomorrow they're going to be doing the advertising for bids for build. And the bids will be due July 19th at 10 o'clock a.m. And once we get that in, should have a groundbreaking ceremony in July. Let's see. We're looking at doing the comp plan and develop code update. They found a team. It's approximately $325,000, if I remember correct. And that is to help get our codes and everything lined up. We talked about the housing action plan, and then we have the HCP, and that will be coming to council pretty soon. That will help us out in how we're looking. We also if you followed legislation in WashDOT, the 3 roundabouts along 507 between Yelm to McKenna, WashDOT is financing it, but they're being managed by Pierce County, Thurston County, and the one that Yelm is going to be managing is at the 5 corners. The engineer, he's asking all the right questions, getting all the information that we can get. They are looking at wanting this completed by 2025. So there's going to be a lot of work that's going to be done with that. So hopefully that'll work out really well to help mitigate traffic.
Yeah.
And then let's see, the solar lights. Director Colt, I got to commend you for having the Mariners reach out to us. We got 6 of those solar lights for the price of 2. According to Director Colt, the Mariners, in preparation for the All-Star event, over-ordered. And when they found out they over-ordered, and they found out from the company that we were purchasing them as well, they reached out to us, and Director Colt, with his wonderful negotiating skills, got it all the way down to 2. So, appreciate that. Splash Pad will be open until September 5th. The hours are from 11 o'clock in the morning to 8 o'clock in the evening. It could stay open later for special events such as Jazz Fest or something else going on in the park that happens to go past that time. They've been pressure washing sidewalks, and tomorrow there'll be advertisement for a new position, operations manager. Hopefully we can find a really good one so that then Director Colt will be able to become director only and not have to micromanage his staff. Other than that,
Nothing else?
nothing else.
Sure. Thank you for that very complete report.
Can we ask questions of these committees?
Not at this point. Now, during the public comment, next time or after the meeting, you can absolutely address them directly. All right, moving on to.
They're on the agenda, though? They're on the agenda, so I can't talk about, public comments completely whatever I want. This is actually on the agenda. Shouldn't I be able to ask a question, what's something that's actually on the agenda?
Councilmember Hess.
Mayor, if she would like to ask a question, I'd like to know her address. And the reason why is we as a city council, we represent the city. And
we're doing that again.
We're business owners, property owners, and city residents. We've used a lot of resources for people outside of the city. And I recognize that we keep being asked to have somebody from 98597 a seat at the table, but they have a seat at the table.
That's okay. I understand you're a business. You guys are a business, so you're trying to make money, but you're using resources that we bring to your city also.
All right. Thank you, Rachel. Moving on to the Finance Committee.
No meeting.
Councilor Richardson.
No meeting.
Okay. Thank you. Moving on to Mayor, City Minister, staff reports. Todd?
Just a couple, member Hess took most of mine away. So a couple things, the assistant planner position interviews will start soon, multiple good candidates. The police department is doing entry-level interviews starting Thursday.
Signatures.
Let's see, you already mentioned the operations manager position posted tomorrow. Prairie Days mentioned, and you already mentioned Prairie Days and the mush ball tournament. So that's all I got.
All right, thank you. For me, tomorrow we do have an employee appreciation lunch at noon. Council should have got the invites for that. Attended the AWC conference last week. Councilmember Brooks learned a lot of good stuff at that. Bring back some of that to the council retreat, which that's scheduled for July 30th. More details will come tomorrow. But at this point, just put it on your calendars. It's a Sunday. We'll do an all-day event. We'll be within an hour and a half drive of Yelm, but it'll just be one day, and we'll get all our business done that one day. During the August study session, we'll be discussing the costs incurred from the Pride Fest as well as Prairie Days. So it'll be a very open, transparent for the public and as well as the council on what the costs were. Part of that is what we're waiting for is the overtime costs, which we have to do every month right before AP. Is it for AP or the 5th? So we'll actually know the exact amounts of overtime, and it's not just for our police, it's also for our public services as well. Other than that, as Councilor has talked about, we'll be having groundbreaking for the dog park at the end of this month. Council will all be invited and move forward from there. And we'll move on to councilmember reports. Start with Councilmember Kaminsky.
Thank you, Mayor. I attended the Nisqually River Council meeting and we talked about the corridor plan update for the highway going over the bridge of the river. We had a review of the AmeriCorps year on the river in the watershed. And we had a very dry but fascinating report, a geological report about the river. And the lower part of what they call the Tacoma Basin is largely near our Lake Lawrence. So the fault line goes parallel to the river and crosses that lake area. And this is called the Strike Slip Fault. And it is 33 to 46 million years old. So I thought that was a fun fact. And I don't know how they calculate that stuff. And lastly, the Nisqually River float trips are on this year. They've been canceled for a few years prior. It sounds fascinating. It's not white water, so you don't have to be afraid. You do get life jackets. They're professionally toured. They say that it's about 10 miles of rarely seen riverfront, and you get to experience the Nisqually from the river itself. It is July 29th and 30th between 9 and 3:30. It's $125, and that includes a catered or riverfront lunch. So that sounds really like a lot of fun. That's my report.
Thank you. Councilmember Brooks.
Thank you, Mayor. I definitely attended the Association of Washington Conference in Spokane with you. You saw me there. Some highlights were the learning, such as effective council communications, some local planning, and reimagining civic engagement. I'd like to remind the public that this Thursday is our next installment of the Community Resource Fair. That is it.
Councilmember Hess.
Let's see, the Intercity Transit Authority, we were briefed about the Martin Way Park and Ride. That if you have a need for a bus ride up north, they're working on getting that express set up to where it's a bus only lane to come off the freeway, pick up people and jump right back onto the freeway. No more will it be making the right and then a left into the park and ride. So they're getting ready to start working on that to get it completed. They've been working on it. It's just getting close to completion. Other than that, everything's going well with what's happening with the bus services. They're still looking for bus drivers and mechanics. Let's see, for the Regional Housing Commission was approved, I think it was, if I remember correct, $13 million of grants for organizations within Thurston County that work with the homeless to help mitigate some of the issues that are out there. Things such as the Lacey Hotel that was converted into a low-income housing with services, being able to reach out to the various the various homeless camps and help people find places to move to and be no longer in the right of way of I-5 or other locations. So it's then also Habitat for Humanity got some money, which will help out with a future project here in Yelm that they're going to be doing. So it was well done. It's mitigated properly, and we are learning lessons from watching King County and Seattle and doing things a little bit better, hopefully.
All right, thank you, Councilmember Hess. Councilmember Smith.
I did Prairie Days, spent most of the day at the car show, and it was great. 2 of my club members took home trophies. So yeah. That's it.
Councilmember Smith. Councilmember Crossman.
A few things. Number one, enjoy the parade. Glad to see Harry didn't fall off top of the fire engine. He don't need Santa. That's him. Mayor was hustling candy to all the kids. He looked like he was working hard. Running around. That was actually a little enjoyable. I was like, his car was taken off without him. I would like to. I was just framing this as we were going down the line. So, pardon me if I get a little off, but instead of, working on ban and Councilmember Hess, said put up signs and stuff and encourage people, maybe we can just work on encouraging people to refrain lighting off fireworks until the 4th. Like I said, I didn't ban them because I don't want to restrict people's freedom, but wish people would wait until the 4th to light them off. Like I said, people light them off this weekend. They were going off, they've been going off almost nightly. It would be nice if people just wait till the actual holiday, because that's what it's for. It's for July 4th. So please do that, but I will not restrict you. 2 other things, both questions. Number 1, I was asked this evening, this was in between meetings, so I didn't get a chance, or else I would have asked it in the public services meeting. But the app that the council approved for, where we're at with that? You want?
I can explain.
Yeah, so what's the name of it?
Roots of Discovery.
Yeah.
It's a app that was funded partially through LTAC and then through the parks, rest of it was through the parks. They're developing our mascot, or what they call their avatar, that'll be on the front page. It's like the character when you log in, that every city has their own page or has their own mascot. So Seattle has their own, Tacoma has their own. So ours will be, it's gonna be pretty innovative. It's gonna be a water tower with some modifications, because that's what we are. We were gonna go with like Mount Rainier or Salmon, but a lot of other people did that. So we went with a water tower. Once they're done with that, we'll start developing missions. Kids will start doing that. We are part of the, I'm taking Lynn's thunder, so we are part of the Pacific Explorers campaign, which is really cool. What people do is they'll there'll be 7 different missions in different cities, Seattle, Tacoma, Lakewood, Yelm, and a couple of cities. They have to do them all. If they complete them all, they get to go get a prize from the actual place that hosts this event. So they'll have to come, so people in Seattle will do the app and they'll go, oh, I have to go to Yelm now. Where the heck's Yelm? It'll force kids to come out to Yelm to do the mission to get their prize, which is some kind of trophy or something they get once they finish all the missions in all the cities. So it's a pretty cool thing. So that's where we're at right now. We're developing our avatar, missions to come after the avatar stuff.
Councilor Hess.
It's just because of the conversation we had. Is there a reason why we didn't do tornado? I mean, we got whirlwind and all these other ones, all of our schools are almost all with the tornadoes. Why don't we have the little tornado?
So the reason behind a tornado is it was already taken by a lot of southern states because they actually have tornadoes. But I mean, we did think about, we thought about maybe a school mascot, but we didn't want to we wanted to kind of be, the water tower is kind of the Yelm thing that we've kind of landed on. I mean, informally made it our mascot, so.
And then back to, circle back here to Rachel's request. It does say on here that comment is welcomed on things that are listed on the agenda.
Yeah, so
She does, am I reading that right? She does have a right to ask a question or make a comment. Like I would imagine be brief.
Yes, I will be brief.
sure, under new business, under old business, it's usually not like executive session for councilman reports, staff reports, council reports. If council would like to start doing that moving forward, it's your meeting, we can absolutely do that. But usually it's just under new business and actual agenda items, not just what council members have to report. Otherwise,
Would I have raised my hand then somewhere in new business? Because you guys were well underway with your conversations about all this other stuff. So there wasn't any spot that I felt like that.
yeah, absolutely. And any of the points, just raise your hand. If I don't see you, wave it around a little more. I will call it as soon as the council's done with their questions, comments. Councilmember Richardson.
Yeah, no, Director Cole, I'd like to recommend a mascot as the pocket coat. Just so I could just finally see what one looks like. That would be fantastic. Yeah. Anyways, no, that's good. The parade, it was so good to have a parade. More candy. More candy. We should be raining candy. More cowbell. Yeah. There you go. That's all I got. This parade's good. It's good.
Thank you, Councilmember Richardson. Councilmember Johnstone.
I attended my first community conversations after living in Yelm for 6 years, and I thought it was great. I really think more people should attend to have that intimacy and casual level of conversations with, some high level people. I think it's really good. encourage it to everyone. Last night, I participated in the bagging event at Grocery Outlet for the Rotary Club for their 10 weeks of summer program. We did 600 bags to give to 300 students for the next few weeks. And the next bagging event is July 10th at Grocery Outlet, and they are looking for more volunteers.
Time on that, July 10th.
8 p.m. You know how long it lasts? More volunteers, the faster it goes. We were there for an hour because they had 25 volunteers, but they schedule it in a 2-hour walk.
All right. Anything else, Councilmember Johnstone?
No.
All right. There is no executive session scheduled. And do I hear a motion to adjourn? Is there a second? Councilmember Johnstone, all those in favor say aye. Aye. And opposed say nay. Meeting adjourned.